Hi guys, good to see you.
Ah, yeah.
So today I think one of the things that I was hoping we could talk a little bit about, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on it, is um, I often get people in session that says, well, I'm just not feeling heard. I don't feel like my partner's really listening to me. And I don't know, have you guys had that come up with you? I'm sure you have. I mean, that's
Yeah, a
part of it.
million times.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Every session?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I was thinking that this was an interesting one because I had a situation with a couple that just came up recently for me where um, the husband is more the person who, when things get to be, he's the withdrawer. So he doesn't go into his emotions and verbalize them all, readily. Whereas she is more of the pursuer and anyway, so what the situation is she wasn't feeling heard. He repeated back what she had said. He said, I hear you, I understand, but it didn't hit her in her body like she was heard. And so I thought that was really interesting. Like we can say, I hear you, I understand. We can even repeat what you just heard, but sometimes it doesn't land with your partner and they don't have the experience of being heard. And so I thought that was an interesting take on it as well.
And that's frustrating for both people. I mean, the person that's trying to be heard, that wants their voice to be heard, and the person that's saying, listen, you said this, you said this, you said this, right? Did I get an A? Like, did I get it right? And
Yeah,
it's like, yes, accurately, but I think there's a big difference between saying, like, yeah, I heard you say that you were really annoyed at me for not doing the dishes versus, yeah, man, that is hard when I don't do the dishes. And I'm really sorry that I've gotten so overwhelmed and busy that I didn't do them. Like, can you tell the difference in my tone a little bit? And I think so much of our communication is nonverbal. It hits our limbic systems in a way that our bodies just don't feel it if it doesn't feel authentic or if there's not that extra piece of really feeling heard and understood, even if you don't
right.
agree,
I think
right?
it's like feeling the other person's pain is really what we're trying to get at.
Yeah, empathy, right?
I think also, if you're in a space where you're struggling, right? In a space where it feels like we get stuck in the same arguments over and over, or I've told my partner the same thing over and over again and nothing's changing, right? So it's like, yeah, you tell me you hear me, but nothing's changing. You're not doing anything different. So it's still upsetting me, right? Or it still hurts, and so that's that feeling of like, yeah, you're saying you hear me, but I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
I still
And
And
feel
I
that
it.
makes
think
sense.
often maybe the
Yeah.
reason why things don't change is because it is just more a cognitive hearing, cognitive, I get it, I understand. It's not they don't feel it in their body. They don't really get what it's like to be that person not being heard, being ignored, being whatever the situation. And here they are doing the dishes yet again by themselves, and the pain that they're feeling as they're doing that.
Which explains so much the buildup of resentment. Because not only are you doing the dishes, which just sucks, like, oh, great, here I am doing the dishes again, add the double whammy of hurt that, and my partner's ignoring me because I've asked for this 50,000 times. So it makes so much sense that when I work with so many couples that have been together for a long, long time, that this coalesces into just this giant, like, ball of resentment and anger and hurt and disappointment and 50,000 other emotions that are really hard towards that person. And it can be hard to chip away at that, right? But even just not feeling heard in that moment, like you said, Catherine, there's so many times I work with couples that say the same thing over and over, like, you're not changing. I keep telling you this. Why, what are you not getting about this? And that's so frustrating, right?
Well,
And
and
often I think I'm sorry, go on.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say part of it too, on the other side too, is maybe I think I'm hearing it or I'm hearing it, but there's still stuff inside of me that's maybe defensive or pushing back or, yeah, I hear you, but, right? They're
Yes.
figuring it out, or I'm busy too, or this, so there's obviously two perspectives and different things going on back and forth.
Totally. Yeah. Andrew, were you gonna say something?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, sometimes also I think what happens is I'm not being heard, and then the pursuer is going to get loud. They're going to start yelling, or they're going to start demanding, hear me, or they're going to start doing dishes really, maybe they'll break a dish. I don't know what they'll
Smashing
do.
something.
Right. And that's really, if you're tuned in, you're like, oh, that person's not feeling heard. They're trying to be noticed. But so often what we do is we're like, our defenses come up and we say, ooh, I don't like that. Let me get as far away from that as I possibly can. So we're doing the exact opposite thing of, really what's needed and what's wanted and what will make the dishes clean and intact.
The very thing that you're doing to try to be heard is pushing the other person away and making it less likely that you're going to be heard. What a horrible position to be in, right? It's a hard place to be. Yeah, it's all a cycle. I appreciate what you said too, Catherine, that piece about how the reason why it might be hard for them to really hear it, to make a change in response to that request or that feedback, right? It's hard to make changes if maybe they're also not feeling understood. Everyone's got reasons. So I appreciate you making that point. Like maybe there's a barrier, there's a block there that makes it hard for them to lean into the change or to acquiesce to that request, right? So I think about how that can be hard because if there's not mutual reciprocal communication and understanding and empathy, it makes it hard to really be a good listener, because then it might feel like you're the one that's doing all the listening.
Yeah.
And what's your turn to be heard?
Yeah. So do you guys have any thoughts on what you would suggest to somebody who's not feeling like they're being heard, like they feel like they're being ignored, their spouse, their partner just doesn't get what they're trying to say, and they've tried so many different things and it's just not working? Do you have any thoughts on what might be helpful?
I feel like, and I think I've said this before, but a big thing for me, I think I would try and say it like slow down, right? Because there's something that we're missing. So if I keep repeating myself and it feels like my partner's not hearing me, what's that piece that's keeping my partner from being able to hear me? Or maybe they've heard it so many times they're drowning it out, right? And we've gotten stuck in this place. So in saying slowing down, getting curious and kind of, what's going on here? I feel like I've said this 100 times. What am I missing, or what's going on for you as I'm saying it the 101th time? So like getting
like
curious.
even saying that to your partner, like saying, wait, right, so obviously there's something that's not working right here. Like, help me understand why we're still here. Why am I not being heard? Like, I know you've heard the words, you've told me the words. What is it that's what
Get in the way.
Yeah.
And I think exactly. And I think a big part of it is the way we present it. Like if we always start our feedback with, you never do this, or you really suck at this, or why don't you ever do this? And it's not a curious question, like, or why they're not doing that. It's, why don't you do that, idiot? Right.
Exactly.
So the way we communicate what we're trying to say makes a huge difference, because as soon as we start communicating with a blame or an attack or a criticism, that instantly is going to pop up the defenses of the person we're trying to communicate with, and they're not going to hear us. So I really try to encourage the clients I work with to really understand and be a little slow down, like you said, Catherine, with how are they communicating it? What's going on? What energy are they putting out there when they're trying to communicate? And not that they need to filter everything or walk on eggshells, but just being aware of, are you coming at your partner hardcore and heavy, like, you never do that and I'm so sick of it, right? That's not going to work.
Yeah. I think do that first, right? The pause first and think, how do I want to approach my partner with this? That I'm not coming from a blaming, critical place, and then we can slow it down there. And that's when we could get curious too on the other side. right? But I think that's a
Curiosity is
really
huge.
important place to start, is like how we approach each other.
You can share how what your experience is like. I'm
Yeah.
noticing this. I'm noticing that I've been doing the dishes a lot lately, and I'm
Right.
feeling really overwhelmed with it. Can you help me with that? That sounds
Yeah.
different than you never do the dishes. Get it together, asshole. Sorry. Get
Right,
it together,
yeah.
jerk.
Oh, that's real.
Yeah.
That's what I hear in my office.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, exactly right. And
Awesome.
I think you right. What I think what I'm hearing you say, Anna, is you're expressing basically your pain. You know, you're owning your pain, what it's like to be you doing the dishes when you've asked for help a million times. Your partner's heard you. They must, you know, then the story's like, they just must be ignoring me. They must just not care. Like they're choosing to just do something just the opposite of what they know is really painful for me. And then you were saying like the resentments as you're each dish you're doing, you're like, but if you can share that pain, I have this quote in my office from Rumi that says, the cure for pain is in the pain. And so you want to go into that pain to, and then hopefully you have a partner that is able to meet you there. Sometimes they can and sometimes they can't, but that's the hope.
Yeah, you got it.
And that's what I guess what our work is about as therapists, is helping couples meet in that pain and see each other in that pain. Great, good deal.
Exactly.
Yeah, so thank you guys both for this. Hopefully this is helpful for anybody out there that doesn't feel heard. And we'll see you on the next one.
We're three couples therapists.
Thanks, guys.